All right, I'm done with that. So anyway, thanks again for coming to the AFT 1493 teach-in, and in particular the current session. I was really inspired. Last speaker in the general session, Gustavo, was speaking about his experience of beginning organizing in middle school, and I actually didn't start that early. I didn't get to start till high school, but I could see we've been walking sort of the same path in terms of the importance of grassroots organizing and protest. One of the things that came to my mind was a highlight recently in my life. I was able to attend the refounding conference of the National Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression in Chicago in November. It drew over 800 activists from across the country. It was an organization that began in 1974 in the aftermath of the effort to free Angela Davis, and it refounded on the growing movement to fight police crimes in Black and brown communities across the country. The refounding Congress was held in the offices in the building owned by the Chicago Teachers Union, one of the most well-known militant teachers unions in the country, and we were welcomed to the conference by Karen Lewis, who's vice president, African-American woman, vice president of the conference of the union, Chicago's Teachers Union. And so I think in that sense, being in the House of Labor, being welcomed in by a Black woman who's in the leadership of the union, it set a good basis for that organization, the one that I'm trying to work with today. Today we're going through three crises, of course. We have the crises of COVID-19 that has killed almost 200,000 people, and the death toll just keeps rising day by day. And the latest, of course, is President Trump admitting that he knew it was really deadly, but he wanted to downplay it and deliberately misled the American people. And this is a crisis for all of America, but it's hit the African American, Chicano, Latino, and indigenous peoples the hardest, with their death rates at 2, 3, 4, and even 5 times higher than the general population. While Asian Americans have not been hit so hard directly by the health impact of COVID-19, but there's been also an unprecedented rise in anti-Chinese and anti-Asian sentiment, led, of course, and cheerled by President Trump and his China virus talks, which has affected Asian Americans across the country. We're in the worst recession since the Great Depression, double-digit unemployment, and actually close to almost 30 million people who are on some form of government unemployment aid at the time. This is also unprecedented. We've seen a storm of protests from across the country after the murder of George Floyd. And this is not something that erupted out of the new. There was sort of a prelude to it, of course, if people remember back to 2012, and the killing of Trayvon Martin, and then following that, the rise of the Black Lives Matters movement and the uprisings in Ferguson and Baltimore, and other communities around the country. I just wanted to sort of bring it back to the beginning in terms of the importance that unions have as social justice organizations. And in particular, I think it is very important that unions be able to fight for the demands of workers, to fight for their economic protection at this time, to fight for safety at work. Many teachers across the country have been going through intense struggles as school districts try and bring children back to the classrooms. And in most cases, it is not definitely not prepared for that task at hand. One of the roles of the union, and I have firsthand experience with it, that I think is very important, is that unions also act to protect our right to protest. And I know I actually lost my previous job at a four-year college, of course with no union. Most four-year colleges don't have faculty unions. And my crime, evidently in the eyes of the administration, was to be one of the full-time faculty who supported an African-American ethnic studies professor who was under attack by the administration. And so one of the things, that tells me, sorry about the French. This is the first time I've used the timer, and I actually realized I don't know how to turn it off. So anyway, with less than 60 seconds to go, and I will mute myself immediately thereafter, so you're going to have to hear my timer going off.
You have 2 more minutes, Masao. 2 more.
Okay, I thought it was 7 minutes.
We got Go ahead.
Okay. So one of the things here is I feel much safer here. The tenure process is open and above board. It's written. You can write responses. You can talk with your evaluators. None of that happened at my previous college. I would have had to sue in court just to find out why they denied me tenure. And of course, there were inequalities. I was told that I hadn't published enough, but I had a white colleague who got tenure and hadn't published either. So anyway, maybe there's whatever. And so one of the things is I feel much more secure here, speaking out today or speaking out at other times or writing for the Advocate, which I know many of my union colleagues would say, well, what have you written recently, Masao? But I used to write a lot. Catherine is smiling. But I felt much more able to write and to be able to be critical of the administration because I knew that the union had my back. The last thing, and this is, I don't know what the union stands on it. I know the union is, I'm sure they're going to endorse it, but I had to say something about it. I want to urge people to vote for a Proposition 16 that would overturn the 1996 anti-affirmative action in public education and public hiring, government hiring. And I think this is not a solution to underrepresentation in higher education or to the underrepresentation of black and brown faculty, but with the Prop 209 in place, I've been on hiring committees. You can't talk about the need for racial diversity legally, right? And so at least we can openly talk about it. People can openly advocate for having a more representative faculty. With that, I want to thank Michael, thank the Union Executive Committee, thank all of you for coming here today, and I look forward to participating in the discussion later. And you can wish me luck in turning off my lawn. Thank you.